Well, hello guys, this is Parkinson, and I'm here to showcase a Rome 2 online battle, 2 versus 2 setting. I really enjoyed this battle, and I just only come to Rome 2 recently. I've always played the Total War series, but never much online, only on Shogun. Um, the initial Shogun. I don't have Fall of the Samurai. The whole guns play on Fall of the Samurai didn't attract me as much as the actually original Shogun 2. But yeah, I've been playing pretty much all games of the series thus far, mostly for the campaign modes, and I really enjoy the game. So I wanted to start playing online battles because you must also see other YouTubers play, and it's a really enjoyable game because it really thrives on your strategy and thinking, and that's something we all love as Total War players, right? So I want to showcase here an online battle that I really liked. So let's just see it then. Replays. Yeah. Okay, it was this one, yeah. So I played as Massilia, and my friend here, Joseph Fritzl, played as Colchis, and we went against Rome and Carthage. And I really enjoyed this battle because I actually used the tactic that it wasn't expected at all from them, and it really worked to my advantage. So let's just pause here so I can show you the unique choices here for each faction. So my main line of troops consisted of five Massilian hoplites to hold the front line of the legionnaires of Rome in place. Having Levi Freeman as support, I want to attract the javelins from the Roman legions before my hoplite lines engage. And here on the flank, this is where my idea rise to prominence. So I choose this army, or Massilia rather, because I knew they had really strong hoplites with some strong infantry, low medium tier troops. So I brought along 2 axe warriors and 2 Celtic warriors, along with the skirmishing support of 4 peltasts, mainly because I knew I was against Rome. They're really well armored, and javelins are the best way to kill them in that sense. So further, I have 2 citizen cavalry supporting these troops, and to finish it up, I have my general and another unit of Epeius lancers, which are chalk cavalry. They're really good charging infantry, good damage. And on this side I have my ally, which is playing the Colchis, which is like the first time I've seen them being played online. But they really have he really had here an interesting army. So he has 3 units of Cartly axemen, along with 2 regular axemen. At the front he's got just a supporting unit of hillmen, and he's got 2 eastern slingers and 2 eastern archers, a eastern javelin man, 2 Colchian nobles on the flanks, and a huge contingent of noble bloodclav. Yeah, I think it's 4 units, and an extra Epeius lancers for support. As for my rivals here on the other side, I'm gonna start out with Rome, which is the faction I'm gonna face here. So at the front he's got 4 legionary cohorts, good troops. I don't think it's the best choice, but I think you could do better with armored legionnaires. But it's alright. I think any infantry belonging to Rome is always gonna be a tough task to take in, but you just gotta know how to counter it. And at the back of these legionary cohorts, he's got 4 regular legionaries, supported by 3 Syrian archers, and at the back he's got the most elite units of them all, of this setting. I mean, for evocati cohorts. He brought no cavalry, which for me it's a grave mistake here, and I think he's gonna pay dearly for it. But on this game we didn't really have rules, so he decided to bring a unit of scorpions instead. Um, they were effective, you know. Artillery is overall effective and can really decide the game. But one single unit of scorpions, it really didn't worry me much, especially because my tactic was to immediately push forward with my hoplite line and force the Romans to engage, and then show this flanking force, because they're hidden. He really doesn't know they're here, and he's just gonna fall into my bait, attack the hoplites, and just then get flanked. And you'll see that in a minute. So here are the Carthaginians. He's got 4 Carthaginian cavalry, 2 on each flank, and at the front line I think he's got about 6 units of Carthaginian hoplites. I don't think it's a really good setup, but I think there are better unit choices for Carthage here. Supported by 3 Balearic Slingers, and some, yeah, about 2 units of Iberian Swordsmen, or 3 units, yeah, 3 units of Iberian Swordsmen, an extra Gallic warrior, and some Italian swordsmen. Of course, a unit of African war elephants, and the general here, as you can see. So let's start out, so you can see here what was my plan. So my initial plan, seeing this and knowing that Rome had no cavalry support, my plan was actually, my setup was actually pretty good, taking into the accounts the armies they show. So I want to take this area immediately, and as you can see, Rome only can see this part of my army, and my exact purpose is that to happen. So I want them to come directly and face my hoplites. I'm gonna gather around these woods, because I'm gonna start being shot by this scorpion unit, which they really inflict good damage if you let your troops be unattended, or just don't try to arrest it at all. Carthage is just gonna simulate here a defensive position, as you can see, strong front line supported by infantry, and the main engagement is gonna happen between me and Rome, basically, while these guys face off, or do a standoff in front of other, commit some cavalry, do some engagements, but you'll see. So seeing this, the Romans are just gonna rush me, as you can see. That's what this army is all about. It's like 12 units of infantry ready to get some punishment. And yeah, so he's still thinking what's happening here. He wants to let the Scorpion fire a bit of some rounds. He just started firing now. It's got 9 kills thus far, but it's gonna increase by the end of the battle, because it's pretty well protected. So the Scorpion unit can only be dealt with. Here the strong archer and slinger component of my Colchis counterpart. So as you can see, my troops are still hidden. That was the plan all along. Of course, me advancing is now baiting the Romans to come forward. So I'm just gonna charge my Levy Freeman to absorb the pilotros and the overall charge of the army. I started using phalanx because you know, it's a mistake. It's always worth charging your troops and then use the phalanx when you're actually engaged with the enemy. Here they start attacking my general with the Syrian archers. I just eventually move them out, which it was the best choice here. The Levy Freemen do their job, so they absorb the charge of the army. He immediately commits the front lines of his troops here, and now he actually sees that I have this force here, and he starts committing single units to this side. Carthage, seeing this, decides to commit also 2 units of cavalry, since Rome has has none. And I commit these 4 units of hoplites to hold the 2 front lines of Rome here. So about 4 against 8 units of legionnaires. And well, I move this force around to flank them, and they commit single units to it. So my peltets immediately come to work against the Evocati. As you can see, they take a tremendous amount of damages by about 2 volleys of these key units, I guess. They throw some javelins back, but they're at a disadvantage here. So here I was micromanaging my troops here, so he gets a perfect charge on my citizen cav, but I immediately react with Celtic warriors that were supporting. And on this side I commit my ex-warriors to these 2 front legionnaires. He commits another Evocati cohort to this side. And I'm gonna start moving my PS Lancers around, as you can see. And my ally actually helps me to hold this side with two units of Axemen, which is and the actually Axemen and the Hillmen, which are per infantry units, but it's gonna hold them in place so they can't flank me, and I actually ask them to support me. And as you can see here, the Carthaginian cavalry just get wrecked. They really can't do much when they're surrounded by 2 citizen cavalry with Celtic warriors supporting. After a charge, they really can't stay there and hope to win. It's just not plausible. So I actually managed to get my PS Lancers around. They take a few shots, as you can see. They really took a lot of shots of PLI by these cohorts, and I just start doing some hammer and anvil here on this, you know, alone troops, while using my peltas here to actually wound the troops fighting here, my Celtic warriors. This Evocati cohort gets cut down by this Sax warrior, which isn't really plausible, but they were really weakened by the peltas I threw on. And this was my tactic, you know, commit the front line, make Rome commit the front line, and the most majority of troops to this side, where my hoplites are really good defensively and they can hold a long time. And then use this flanking force so they could commit separate batches of legionnaires while being supported by cavalry and peltas. So they really couldn't do much. So I start moving my infantry up to start flanking. I just, you know, just throw this citizen cavalry here to try to do the most damage, because they really didn't have any cavalry to contest this. So I just use them to make the most damage. Try to commit my citizen cavalry to their archers, which are really good, using some hammer and anvils on their legions as where I can. This legion Evocati cohort just gets surrounded by peltas and eventually dies off without, you know, any kind of repercussions to my troops here. I tried to commit some peltas here because I think they were out of ammo. And or if they had ammo, I wanted to save what little was left to deal with the rest of Roman troops, because even though we got the initial advantage, it's still Rome, and it's still like 8 units of legionaries I have to deal here with, and my troops can't do that. You know, without the Colchis support, I really can't hold them for long. The only thing I could do was grab the initial advantage and go on with it. Use my cavalry to inflict the most damage from behind. I use my general and I play with lancers the most I can. But I was really expecting more support from Colchis, but they really couldn't do that. All the while they won the cavalry engagement here against the 2 Carthaginian cavalry that were left. They were supported by javelin men, and that really scored an important role. So what Carthage does, seeing that Rome was getting pretty wrecked here, he commits the elephants and another unit of Iberian shortsmen here, and by now he only has his hoplites left with some infantry, and now he's just gonna get showered by the archer fire and slinger fire, while we wrap up here. The elephants here, yeah, what happens is the morale drop they inflict on my troops. It's just gonna rout a whole lot of them. But I think the damage was done against my against the Roman legions. They were pretty much depleted. They end up around with only about 6 units left, I think. But he's gonna play it a bit badly, I think. In the meantime, I just kill this general with my Pegasus Lancers, so just to have that extra advantage. Eventually, I put these Peltas were enough to run this War Elephants amok, so they can kill a little bit more of Roman troops, as you can see. It's just really... it just hurts, man, to see this. So yeah, my troops eventually rout. What I do is just I decide to rout with these 2 units, which already had low ammo, but I was actually saving these 2 units for more of the late game. I knew I would need the most javelins I could, and I couldn't just waste it all. So I used the other 2 units I had here on this flank that eventually routed, used all their ammo and committed them to melee fights. But yeah, the Roman legions were destined to win, but I wanted to make enough damage so they couldn't really support Carthage anymore. And Carthage itself, to actually make Rome's survival here a possibility, had to commit cavalry, infantry, and eventually even the elephants. So as for the army, it was pretty much depleted, as is. So as you can see here, what remains are a bit of skirmishers and the outplayed wall. His general is here attacked by some of the noble blood cavalry, and here is the mistake he does. I just don't understand. These all 3 units have javelins, and they're just gonna murder these elephants. Look at this. It's just suicide. Look at this. Look how many javelins this elephant has on it. It's a beautiful sight, right? But yeah, I'm really not sure. I think Carthage made a few poor decisions. Rome really did what it could do, just commit the infantry to the fight, where you know in the long run they would come up on top. But as I said, the intention here was to inflict the most damage to the Roman troops as I could, deplete them, and have Colchis hold his infantry in reserve for them, because they still had this really big contingent of cavalry and skirmishers to deal with the Hoplites. So another mistake Rome does here is it actually starts chasing the troops around. It starts chasing my 2 units of Peltas and the IPS Lancers, and actually leaves 2 units of Legionnaires here, who just get wrecked. Of course, they get back-charged by cavalry while being held by axemen, so they really couldn't do much there. But I really didn't understand why he was chasing me all over the map, and he finally understands that it's pointless. But by this time, it's completely useless. He lost another 2 legions here. Carthage just starts charging, and Rome is nowhere near to support it. And in the meantime, I actually get around my troops to the back of Carthage to throw the few volleys they have left on the back of these Hoplites, all the while having still IPS Lancers to do here a few back charges on these troops. So as you can see, the Carthage Hoplites are now dealing with Carthage Axemen, which are really good infantry. In this case, they are pretty equiparable to the Legionaries Rome has, but he has Colchis nobles supporting them, which are great defensive units. So they have 81 and 105 armor, so they're a really good defensive unit. As you can see, melee attack and melee weapon damage is pretty great as well. And at this point, he couldn't do much else, so he just charged his troops along, and all the while Rome is actually walking, because their troops were pretty much tired just from chasing me around the map. But yeah, this is the remainder of the Roman depleted army. They won against me, but they had to ask for too much support of Carthage, and Carthage actually, by doing that, couldn't support their own army. and they just get surrounded by the fresh Colchian troops that really hadn't seen any action thus far. So I'm just gonna show you here how my battle tests are actually. I'm gonna charge. You just see now the cavalry charging. The Colchis cavalry charging behind the Hoplites, doing massive damage, and it's pretty much over for them. So let's just hear a bit of the battlefield. Pretty good map. I really enjoyed this map. I never played in it. Here comes my general, just to inflict some damage here on these units, then proceed to just fuck this just mess up with these units over here and then just rout. Yeah. After that, it's pretty much done with. By the time Rome gets here, the Carthage is dead, basically. And they're depleted. They have no ammo, and the Carthage X-Men are still fresh. As you can see, they're very tired, winded, but they're really depleted by the effort against my Massilian army. They just start routing. Yeah, they get back charged by the Suppliers Lancers. He really used his cavalry well. I think that was our strong point. We used our cavalry well, and besides they didn't have cavalry. Rome should have brought cavalry to support its army, and Carthage used its cavalry really bad. It committed to the two sides where it couldn't win. He just charged two cavalry here and immediately got killed, and then he charged against the Colchis noble blood cavalry, which were supported by javelin men. So yeah, it was pretty much over the moment cavalry was no longer part of a play, and it did too many mistakes. The elephants were completely killed while walking in front of 3 units of javelins, and yeah, that was it, guys. So we're just gonna look here a bit at the stats. As you can see, the Scorpion unit still managed to kill a lot, but I think it was way too costly, and he should have brought cavalry instead. In the little bit less of infantry, he could really do with some cavalry on his army, and this could be going very, very bad for me, because at the end of this I realized my army composition wasn't that good, but I used it well, while the enemy didn't. Rome and Carthage, they really didn't use their armies well, I think. It was a really fun game. But as you can see, their Evocati cohorts got various kills. One of them just got wrecked by my peltasts and really didn't get any say on the meta. But overall, they got a lot of kills against my infantry, because they were honestly superior to them. But as you can see here, my Axe warriors and the Celtic warriors got a bunch of kills against these legionnaires, which shouldn't be the case. Here my Levy Freeman was just used as mid shield to my Hoplites, who scored a fair bit of kills, but they did their job, which was to hold the front line of troops. And while they did that, Rome had to commit single pockets of legionnaires and Evocati cohorts to my flanking forces, and supported by peltasts and cavalry, they really couldn't do much, just because they didn't have any support, even though Carthage helped them in the end with those elephants, which was really the turning point for Rome to win that battle against me. But by that time, Carthage had committed too much forces to deal with Colchis, and we grabbed the win. As you can see, they got a lot of kills, but honestly, I think we used our army setups better, and it was really a fun game. But well, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll try to make more battles, more online battles showcase, and that is it. Have a good one, guys. This is Parkinson signing off. Bye.